Welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new episode on the podcast. We're going to be talking about Arsenal and Fulham and how important that game is and the importance of Kai Havertz, Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu as we get into the first game of the second leg of the Premier League. We'll be talking about the goal problem as well at Arsenal. We do have a big goal problem and it is something that I really am concerned with. But the good thing is that Mikel Arteta as well as manager is concerned with the lack of goals at the team. And he said if we don't get enough goals, if we don't do well in the opposition box, we are not actually going to score goals. So we'll talk about the problem. What is causing the lack of goals? Why aren't we scoring enough goals? And what is actually the real solution to our goal problem? Is it signing a striker, or is it actually sitting down with Saka, with Martinelli, with Gabriel Jesus, with the players that actually scored a couple of goals last season and, making them aim for the target, right? Because we know we have a good squad, we have a very, very good bunch of players that can actually score a couple of goals. Martin Odegaard did get around 15 last season, Martinelli 15 last season, Saka around 14, 15 last season. So why are we drying out? Why are we drying up? Why are the goals drying up? And could we see a very different second leg of the Premier League to what we saw last campaign? Were Arsenal going on the rise rather than dropping, right? And I think that would be something that we all want to see. We'll talk about the alternatives of dropping Gabriel Martinelli and Saka. I mean, if they're not giving you the return you want, you better as well drop them. With Saka, you have Leandro Trossard there, you have Emile Smith-Rowe there as well. So you would rather give these players a couple of chances and see if you can get better results with Emile Smith-Rowe over Gabriel Martinelli, and possibly as well. We might drop Saka and play a Reece Nelson there, or play a Gabriel Jesus there, and then Eddie Nketiah down through the middle, or Kai Havertz down through the middle as well, and we let Saka rest, because that could also be another reason why we're not scoring enough goals as well. But I want your thoughts on all these topics. Let us hit this like button, please. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and yeah, let's get into it. Now, let's start off with the Fulham preview, because I think this is going to be a very important game for us. It's a very important fixture. Arsenal need to bounce back in order to get back to the top of the table. And this is going to be our life in 2024. This is going to be our story in 2024. You win, you go back on top of the table. You do not win, you actually don't go back to the top of the table. And by the time I record this, Arsenal are sitting fourth on the Premier League table, behind Man City, behind Aston Villa, and behind Liverpool as well. Liverpool have not played, just like Arsenal. Man City do have a game in hand. Villa are the only side that have played all games. They have played 20 games so far. Now, Fulham are not a good side. And I think, everyone knows, Fulham have not failed to concede a goal in 17 appearances when they played Arsenal. But that is not the point. The point in this game is Arsenal will be overpressured. Arsenal coming in this game for the first time in a very long time. We are not in the top two positions. We are not in the top three positions. And we are threatened that if we do not win, we might actually not, go back, in top two. So if Arsenal draw, will be a point behind Aston Villa, which will be 41, and Villa stay second, and Liverpool will stay first, despite the fact that they will not have played yet against Newcastle. And Liverpool will beat Newcastle. There's no question about that. Liverpool are a decent side, and Newcastle are struggling at the moment. So what Arsenal have to do, there is only one alternative, and there is only one result that we want, and that result is beating Fulham at the Craven Cottage. So is it an easy game? How do we approach it? Listen, Mikel Arteta has given us a huge update on Kai Havertz. Of course, he was suspended for the last game against West Ham. And I thought we missed him, and I thought he's one of those players that Arsenal have to make sure he's always fit and he is always available. Because during the beginning of the campaign, it looked like we had options. It looked like we had, so many players that can play what Kai Havertz plays, that can give us what Kai Havertz gives us. So we talked about Leandro Trossard, Fabio Vieira, Emile Smith-Rowe, and all these other lads. And even Alexander Zinchenko as well was put into the conversation. Fast forward, around 3-5 months later, Arsenal do not actually have a good squad. Arsenal do not have a left number 8 that is as effective as Kai Havertz. Leandro Trossard this season has been absolutely down. Alexander Zinchenko, I don't think you can even think about playing him in that position at the moment because he's really struggling with form. And Emil Smith-Rowe just coming back from injury, I don't think he's ready to take on the responsibility. Fabio Vieira is out with a groin injury. So we have one person, we have one player, and that player is Kai Havertz. So Kai coming back, it's going to consolidate our midfield. It's going to make sure that we have free-flowing football in a free-flowing system that we have seen Mikel Arteta implementing. When you have Kai, when you have Declan Rice, and you have Martin Odegaard. So Kai is a big boost as he comes back because he can score a goal from the midfield. He can take on those chances. And he also really creates a lot of spaces for other players to run into. And he also occupies the spaces that Gabriel Jesus leaves behind for other players to run into. I don't know why Martinelli is no longer running into the spaces. Jesus is leaving. I don't know why Saka is not running into the spaces that are being left behind by Gabriel Jesus. But Kai Havertz has done it well this campaign, and it is something that we've got to be proud of. It's a player that we've got to be proud of. Because if he wasn't there, I don't think our system would be as good as it is right now. Right? Yes, we've had to wait for him for a couple of months, for a couple of games, and when he's come around, we have seen there is a player in there and there is quality in there as well. So Kai comes back as we take on Fulham at the Craven Cottage today. That is a massive boost. Takero Tomiyasu is also back in full training this week. Now, it will depend on the manager whether he wants to play him or actually not. But if you look at my starting 11 that I've actually put forward, I think Tomiyasu has to play. So I've gone with David Raya in goal, Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel, and Alexander Zinchenko in defense. And of course, I brought back Kai Havertz alongside Declan Rice and the man himself, Martin Odegaard. The one thing Tomiyasu has is guarantee. He absolute guarantees you guarantee. And I think that is kind of regurgitation, but you understand what I'm talking about. He guarantees you guarantee. He gives you that assurance that there is quality and there is safety when he plays. Something you don't get from Ben White. I think he's one of the players that are struggling for form. To be honest at the moment. And why our players are struggling for form? Why we are no longer as good as we are last season, I'm still finding out. I'm still reading. I'm still, watching podcasts and watching videos and, analyzing this team and looking at the players. There is a problem. Is it fatigue? Most of our players fatigued. Did we take a lot from ourselves last season when we went toe-to-toe with Man City and almost beat them to the title? Is that the reason? Well, that could be the reason. And I agree. That could be the reason. But half of this squad is total shit right now. Total shit right now. The way they play, the way when you look at them single-handedly, it's not promising, right? When you look at these players in a more collective manner, it's good, right? We have 40 points and we have scored a couple of goals and we have defended well. But there are a few individual brilliances this season, and not every player is brilliant. So I think Gabriel Magalhaes has been very, very brilliant. I think Saliba has been very, very, very brilliant. Odegaard, no, he has not been brilliant. He's actually coming back and just gaining form, just of recent. The front three, dead, like absolute dead animals, right? The midfield, apart from Declan Rice, before Kai Havertz and Odegaard picking up form, they were dead animals. So it's been the defense of two people that has actually stood between Arsenal and the world, right? And everyone has been talking about it. There is a reason why Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, Ian Wright, Cossy on Cossy's Arsenal podcast, Terry on the Football Terrace, and everyone on TalkSport, everyone just talks about our defense, right? Last season, Saliba was great and he was phenomenal and we talked about him, but we did talk about Saka as well, and we did talk about Martinelli as well, and we did talk about the brilliance of Martin Odegaard as well, right from the beginning of the campaign, right? And when Leandro Trossard came in, we talked about how significant a signing he has been, and he was. That is to highlight that there was a lot of quality spread across the pitch. This season, we talk about two players. That is Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba. That means that the quality in all these other areas of the pitch has actually dropped. It's dropping, and it's the worry for me, right? So for me, listen, Tommy coming back again is another player that guarantees you a good performance. Is another player that you think defensively he is astute and he is ready for any challenge. Tell you Partey, if the manager wants to use him, he might be available. But I think Mikel Arteta wants to take his time. And it also could be another tactic for Arsenal to think about it in this way. If Thomas Partey is not playing for us at the moment, it means that Ghana might have to be forced not to call him. And maybe that is something we might need to do. It's bad, it is ruthless, but it's something that we might have to do. Like, how do you expect us to lose our best player in January? And one of our best players in January, one of our best midfielders, in January, with all the injury crisis we're going through, we don't have a lot of money to beat the FFP situation right now, so we might not bring in, a high quality Amadou Onana, Zubimendi, style of midfielder. So what we need to do is keep hold of Partey, keep hold of Gigino, keep hold of these players that that we have at the moment. And Mikel has talked about it on a couple of occasions. If you cannot let go of the players that you have at the moment, and you cannot bring in the players that are out there, you better improve the players you have at the moment, right? So for me, Thomas Partey coming back as well, that could be a huge boost for Arsenal, even just mentally. So how do we approach the Fulham game, and how do we get over the nerves? This is reality, right? This is reality. And I'm one of the people that have learned to understand reality and move with reality and, move with reality. The reality of the matter is we are going to be nervous for the last 19 games of the campaign. That is the reality. And I said it before on this podcast, and I'm going to say it again. This season is a whole lot difficult than last season. This season, you have a too good Aston Villa to be true, but they're true. They're beaten Burnley, and therefore, they've pushed us into fourth. You have a Manchester City side that are not good enough, but better than anyone else. And then you have a Liverpool side that have miraculously just cheated death, right? Because it should have been the death of their era. It should have been the death of Jurgen Klopp's era at Liverpool. And they have just cheated death by bringing in Dominic Szoboszlai, McAllister, Wataru Endo, and a couple of few signings, and the team looks, bright again. So that means that every single game Arsenal drops points in, Arsenal's chances of the title drop. Every single chance, every single time that Arsenal lose a game, we create a difference between us, Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Man City. The difference last season was this. Arsenal had Man City to focus on. So that meant that we needed to stay within a 5-point gap, difference between us and Man City. When we were top, there was a 7-5, difference gap. When they were top, it was 1 point or 2 points. And eventually you could get that Nottingham Forest knock that Manchester City got, and Arsenal went back on top of the table again. We had Everton, a game in hand. We won that game 4-0, and we increased that point gap by 4 points. This season, it is different. Arsenal have 40 points, Man City 40, and Villa and Liverpool 42. It means that if Arsenal do not win today, we will have opened a 2-point difference between us and Aston Villa. And if Liverpool win in match day 20, they will have widened that gap to 5 points. So Liverpool will be above Arsenal with 5 points. Good luck catching that. Because that Liverpool side have the minerals in them to come at the Emirates Stadium and pick up 3 points or pick up a point. Right, and you still have to go to the Etihad. You still have to go to the St James's Park. You still have to go to the Old Trafford. You still have to play Chelsea. In the second leg as well. So with all that, it means that the pressure is going to be high. And the only way you subsidize the pressure is you win games that you're supposed to win. And Fulham away at the Craven Cottage, I'm sorry to disrespect them, that is a game you're supposed to win. Yeah, that's a game that we are supposed to win. Regardless of how bad we are, regardless of how good they are, regardless of them, trying to stay up, that is a game Arsenal have to win. And if we do not win it, then our title hopes will have crashed, right? I think we are still in contention, but this game is going to be the decider. If we lose it, if we draw, the title is gone. It's as simple as that. The title is gone. This is going to be our title decider. And every single game for the next 19 games is going to be a title decider for Arsenal. And Mikel Arteta knows it. And that's why he says comfortably, we don't improve the way we defend, we will not win the league. Because as manager, he knows it. He knows that this side have it in them to win, have it in them to go and put in good performances. But why aren't we putting in those good performances? I don't know. And he says if we do not put in these good performances, we will not win the league. So for me, the preview for this game is easy. Arsenal have to go out there and play the kind of football we played against Brighton. Mikel has got to ask himself a question as well, and his coaching staff. At times, I do ask, questions of these players, and we do ask questions of these players as well. But the manager has got to ask himself a question. If you have a team that plays wonderfully well against Brighton, defending very well, pressing very highly, and doing all that cool stuff, what happens? What happens against Liverpool? What happens against West Ham, right? West Ham invited us to attack them, and we attacked them, just like Brighton did. So why did we not win against West Ham? Why did we drop points against West Ham? Why did this Arsenal side not pick up 3 points against West Ham? Why didn't we score a single goal? What is the difference between Brighton and West Ham? There's no difference. Both teams played a conservative style. They suffered. They were terribly suffering. But Arsenal don't score in one, which is at the Emirates Stadium, right? And we score 2 in the other, which is also at the Emirates Stadium. So the question is, why? Why is this team fluctuating, right? Why don't we have a bit of consistency? The opponents are actually giving us consistency in what we expect. Because Brighton, they didn't show that they wanted to beat Arsenal. The same thing with West Ham. But Arsenal choose to be inconsistent when it comes to how we will handle both games. I think there is a problem there, and we've got to solve it. So for me, the Fulham game is a do or die, and that is what we want to see. That is what I want to see. You win this game, or you win the Champions League, because that's what Mikel has to. Those are the only 2 options he's got now. I win this game, or I focus on winning the Champions League. Right? You don't expect Liverpool to open up a 5-point difference on top of the table, and you're going to catch them. It's not Jurgen Klopp. It's not like him. It's not like Jurgen Klopp. So the moment they run away, the moment they get in space, it's a very bad. It's a very bad thing for us. It will be a very bad thing for us. So that is my those are my thoughts on this game. The lineup I would go with. This is it: David Raya in goal, Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, Tomiyasu, Odegaard, Rice, Kai Havertz, Leandro Trossard, Saka, and Eddie Nketiah. I would make a couple of changes. The only player I would keep in this team is Saka in the front 3. And the reason why, I think Saka's been productive. So when you look at his numbers, I'm actually surprised how he has so very good numbers. He's competing with the likes of Salah. He's competing with the likes of Hwang Hee-chan, who are actually having the seasons of their lives. And I'm like, mate, You're having a shit season. How are you putting in these numbers? This season, Saka scored 5 goals and assisted 6 times. Those are already double figures in goal contributions in just the Premier League. Not everywhere, in just the Premier League. And remember, he's been remarkable as well, in the Champions League with the likes of Gabriel Jesus. So you keep Saka in the starting 11. You drop Gabriel Jesus. Yeah, you drop Gabriel Jesus, you drop Gabriel Martinelli. I think Martinelli needs to go around 3-4 games without playing football. You can't have one of your breakout seasons and everyone is now looking at you, and we don't sign Pedro Neto, we don't sign a winger in the summer, because we know as long as we deal with we manage your injury, problems. We deal with the injury crisis with Martinelli's footballing, career. We can actually have a good winger, and then you put in such a performance in the season after that. It's purely unacceptable. So that's what I think. Go and put in a game that everyone is going to remember. Let's go and put in a performance that the fans deserve to see, the fans would love to see as well. Now, the striker problem and the goal problem at Arsenal, right? So on this part of the podcast, we are talking about why Arsenal are non-scoring goals and why I think this is a very big problem, and Mikel Arteta also thinks the same way as well. If you think we have a problem in scoring goals, hit the like button right now. If you think Arsenal do not have a problem with scoring goals and it will get better even if we don't sign a striker, hit the like button and let me know in the comment box below. Now, I don't want to over-exaggerate this because it doesn't need over-exaggeration. Arsenal have scored 36 Premier League goals this season so far. And however much that is the lowest we have done as a club, and that's the lowest you have in the top 5, I don't think it is life-threatening. And Arsenal have actually managed to compensate our lack of goals with our lack of conceding and our lack of giving away chances. So these are the statistics. In 19 games, Arsenal have scored 36 goals and conceded just 18. In 19 games, Manchester City have scored 45 goals. That is where the scare is. They have scored 9 goals more than Arsenal, and they have conceded just 3 goals more than Arsenal, right? So they're scoring more, they're conceding a little bit more, but nothing to worry about for now, for Manchester City. Aston Villa, as per time of recording, they have scored 43 goals, right? 43 goals for now. And Liverpool have scored 39. What does that mean? And why is that a point for Arsenal fans to be afraid of and to be concerned with? This is the issue, right? This is the issue. Arsenal scoring 36 goals in 19 games, and Liverpool have scored 39, and Villa have scored 43, and Manchester City have scored 45. It just highlights the difference in the forward line. It just brings out the difference in our forward lines. So Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey and Oli Watkins, compared to Saka, Martinelli and Jesus, if you honestly asked me which front three do I think has been the better in 2023-2024 season so far, I'll take Leon Bailey, Diaby and Watkins. They have been sincerely better. And this is not about any Arsenal frustration or hate. I love this club. I think Villa have been better in transitioning, in counter-attack, in scoring goals, and in being clinical. I think Man City are always better in that aspect, so I don't think Arsenal should be really scratching their heads that we are not above or better than Man City. But even Liverpool, who have a Cody Gakpo that is still struggling, even Liverpool who have a Darwin Núñez that is still struggling, are scoring more goals than us, right? They're scoring more goals than us. I don't think their midfield is the most powerful. I don't think their attack is the most powerful. Salah is like, the key guy for them. But apart from that, we should be able to score the same number of goals as Liverpool or even better, right? So we have a goal scoring problem, and it comes from three angles, and that's what I'm going to talk about right here. Number one, drop in form. That is what I talked about at the beginning of this video. That Saka has dropped, Martinelli has dropped, Odegaard has dropped, Trossard has dropped, and everyone that was scoring goals for us, apart from Granit Xhaka, who is gone, has actually dropped. I actually think the return of Granit Xhaka has been compensated by Kai Havertz, because by this time, Kai has 4. Generally, in the whole season, Granit Xhaka actually scored 7 goals. However, there is something that Kai Havertz has not done, and there is something that we are actually lacking. So our left-hand side last season was Zinchenko, Xhaka, and Martinelli. That left-hand side had 3 jobs, and they did them exquisitely, very well. They created chances, right? Xhaka 7 goal contributions in terms of assisting. Alexander Zinchenko was literally driving the midfield and breaking those high lines and exposing them, for Martinelli and Saka to run onto. And of course, we had that guy, Gabriel Martinelli, on top of his game, tracking back and, running forward, creating chances. That is gone. Is it Xhaka? Is it the Xhaka effect that the left-hand side is dead? It is possible. It is highly possible, because when he's gone, Martinelli is gone and Alexander Zinchenko is gone, right? So one of the reasons that we are not scoring enough goals is that left-hand side all dropping in form. They're all dropping. There's no creativity from that side. There's no creativity from those angles. And Zinchenko is no longer creating. Martinelli is no longer creating. And Kai Havertz has not created chances so far. Or actually has not had any assists registered, so far. Because the number of times I've seen him pull the ball back, someone misses the target. And we will talk about that in the second phase of this part, which is, the lack of clinical boots. So we have a drop in form in Martinelli, we have a drop in form in Alexander Zinchenko, and we have a drop in form in one of the most important players in this team, in Saka. Saka is missing goals he was scoring last campaign. I think during the beginning of last campaign, I said this. If Saka can improve his clinical level, he will be top tier with Vinicius Jr. And what we saw from Saka last season was remarkable. He was scoring goals for fun, and his confidence in front of goal and his ability in front of goal was a joke. Saka scored 14 goals last season. He had scored 11 the previous season, right? But the difference between those 2 seasons, Saka was becoming more clinical. He was scoring, goals from positions that you want him to score from. He was scoring goals that you don't expect. He was scoring goals that lift the spirits of the team. Right now, I think he's missing chances that sink the spirits of the team. So we have that decline in form, and too bad, right? Too bad. There is nothing you can do about that. Like, I think the coaching staff and Mikel Arteta, and through his management, they've got to talk about it. They've got to discuss, why are we having few goals? Why are we having all these forward players, dropping off? But you just can't fix it overnight. You just can't go, well, let's pick up the form. No, right? If a player is not good enough, you just replace them with a better player, right? If a player is inconsistent, injury prone, you replace them with a more durable player. Partey out, Declan Rice in. The engine works. But with players like Saka and Martinelli, it doesn't show that they're not trying. They're trying. You look at Martinelli. He's getting into those spaces. He's shooting. He's not an embarrassment. He's known. There is a huge difference between him and Marcus Rashford. Rashford, at Man United right now, he's not like... He doesn't show that he's willing to try. Martinelli is doing everything right, apart from being clinical and being impactful in the final third. So it doesn't show that they're not trying. They're trying. But it's not working. And why is it not working? The coaching team and the management staff, they've got to answer these questions to Mikel. Mikel have got to ask them, Why are my players underperforming all of a sudden? Is it fatigue? Is it injuries? Are we protecting them? Are we waiting for the last part of the season for us to pick up? There must be an answer. So that is one of the reasons why we're not scoring goals. There is it's not abrupt. It is abrupt actually. There is an abrupt, mediocrity that has engulfed this team. And I think we need to deal with it. We need to work on it. The other thing that I think is affecting Arsenal is, and I don't know whether being clinical is a superpower that you can lose, right? But we are just not clinical. And this doesn't go on Saka, Jesus' word. We are just not clinical. The amount of chances we are wasting and the amount of good chances that we are wasting, it's a pity. Martin Odegaard is very unlucky to play at this side. Like, this guy creates sitting chances, begging to be buried, and still we don't bury them. And we still don't bury them. So, when you're not clinical, you don't score goals. When you don't score goals, you don't win games. I think the perfect example is Leicester City 15-16. Is it 15-16 or 14-15? I think it's 15-16. Jamie Vardy, as long as I remember my statistics and my football, because I was watching all those football games, standing on my bare legs, Jamie Vardy scored almost every opportunity he had. Whether it was against Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool. He scored goals that you can't believe. Remember the Liverpool goal outside the penalty area? Now, when a team has a player like that, when you can score such goals, you win games. So for me, for Arsenal to win games and for us to solve this problem, we've got to start small, right? I don't think we are a team that really shoots us outside, a lot outside the penalty area. We don't do that. Actually, most of our shots are taken from the inside of the penalty area. The first thing we've got to do is we've got to understand the patterns and we've got to create confidence in front of goal. We need to be clinical again. Our players need to be clinical. Whether it is Tomiyasu, whether it doesn't matter. We've got to be more clinical. And there must be a training session every single day for these players to practice how to finish the ball in front of an empty net. Because that is those are the goals we are missing. Let us start by practicing how do you score without a goalkeeper. If Arsenal can start scoring without a goalkeeper, then we can put one goalkeeper in the net and go, how do you score with one goalkeeper in goal? And when you complete that, you've completed football, because there is not football team that has the license to play with two goalkeepers in goal. So for me, we've got to learn to be more clinical. I've already said this, even last season. You've got to be clinical. You've got to take your chances. You're creating good chances. Why aren't you scoring them? No one knows. No one understands why this Arsenal side has decided to be very, very poor. And my point number 3, we do not have a goal-scoring machine. Mikel Arteta is, I think I should use this word. Mikel Arteta is a joke at times. Yeah, he's a joke at times. And why I think he's a joke at times? He's come from Man City, and Man City have brought in Erling Haaland. When he goes, Man City buy Erling Haaland. And they move away from the type of system that allows goals from all the parts of the pitch to a system where you have a number 10 creating for a number 9. And that has actually won them the treble. And Mikel Arteta has gone to a previous system and he's trying to get goals from midfielders and defenders. For Christ's sake and crying out loud, can you go and buy a striker? It's as simple as that. Can you go and get a good number 9? Can you go and get yourself a decent player that can score goals? Liverpool have Darwin Núñez, who's not scored goals yet, but it shows you the picture and it shows you the plan. Villa have Watkins, City have Haaland, Arsenal have Nketiah and Jesus. Those guys are not goal scorers. Those guys are imposters. If there was a striker association, Gabriel Jesus and Edin Nketiah would not have cards, would not have invitation cards for dinner, because they are not strikers. They are wingers that at times play in the middle of the park. It's as simple as that. So we are fidgeting with January budgets on Ivan Toney, Dusan Vlahovic, Lautaro Martinez. We could have done this last summer. I don't sign Kai Havertz. Sign a striker, right? Sign a striker. Go and place 75 million on the table for to sign Colomwani or to sign Goncalo Ramos, because both of them going to PSG wouldn't make any sense. If PSG had taken Ramos, you would talk to Randall Colomwani, and I think Colomwani would make a huge difference. There was Marcus Thuram on a free, and that's what I'm talking about. There was Marcus Thuram on a free, and I was like, if AC Milan get Marcus Thuram, they'll have done good business. And a team that had finished in the final of the Champions League in Inter Milan, they just looked at the situation and said, we cannot allow Milan to take Marcus Thuram to the other side of the city. And I tell you, Marcus Thuram is better than any striker Arsenal have at the moment. And if you played Inter right now, Marcus Thuram would be our biggest problem together with Lautaro Martinez. So for me, we've got to go and find a striker. We've got to find a better number 9. We've got to find a better striker. Now, do I think that Martinelli and Saka should be dropped? We'll talk about this in the next episode. However, this is my honest opinion about the two. Rotate them. Dropping them might be too harsh, and I will drop that episode right after the Fulham game. If I do not see any improvements, I'm just going to go absolutely ruthless. But at the moment, I would be okay if they are just rotated. You rotate Saka, you rotate Martinelli. You can play Gabriel Jesus on the right hand side. You can play Edin Nketiah down to the middle, and you can play Leandro Trossard. And you can you rotate them, because when you do, it gives them it does motivate them, and it creates fear in their hearts as well. But these players are playing like they don't even care, and I know they care, and I know they are trying. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Cossy's Arsenal podcast. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and of course, I'll see you very, very soon.